Okay, now let's investigate how we can very naturally uh, see how the relativity of simultaneity comes about using space-time diagrams. So to do this, let's imagine now that Leia is in trouble on Alderaan, and she's sending out distress signals at regular time intervals. Let's call those tau. And so I've drawn the space-time diagram for one of these distress signals. So again, here's Dagobah where Luke is, Alderaan where Leia is, Tatooine where Han is. They're separated by distance, total distance L, and Alderaan's right in the middle. So at time equals 0, Leia sends out a distress signal in the form of a light signal, and so these propagate at 45 degrees, plus or minus 45 degrees, towards Dagobah and Tatooine, towards Luke and Han, and arrive there at CT equals L over 2. Okay. Now, at some time later, okay, then Leia sends out another interval, and another signal, and that time interval there is tau. Okay, so after some time tau, Leia sends out another signal that propagates to Luke and Han, and I've shown the light lines there, and she can keep doing this at the same time interval, and so I've drawn one more set. Okay, now we can draw now since the distance between Alderaan, so Leia and Luke and Leia and Han is the same, and since they're all in the same rest frame, then Han and Luke receive their signals simultaneously. Okay, and so we can connect events, for example, events B and C. Okay, and with a horizontal line, which indicates that they happen simultaneously, right? Because it happens at the same coordinate, same vertical coordinate. We can do the same up here, and one last time. Okay, and these we can call lines of simultaneity. Again, and you see in this frame, that is in the frame that is at rest, where the sender of the signal and the two receivers of the signal are at rest with respect to each other, the lines of simultaneity are horizontal. Now, what happens in Lando's frame, in the boosted frame? Remember, Lando's moving is flying between Dagobah and Tatooine in that direction, and so in Lando's frame he sees Dagobah and Tatooine and Alderaan moving backwards, and so again the world line of Dagobah of Luke has a negative slope of -1 over beta, and so does Han's, and of course so does Leia's. Okay, but to see the important thing is just to note that the light signals still have to have a 45-degree slope because they're light. Okay, and so event B or C here happens right here. But now if we look what happens to, let me see if I can get this right. That's roughly correct. Okay, so now we see that event B happens over here. Okay, so again, that's the light. That's the time when Luke receives the signal compared to when Han receives the signal, and we see in the boosted frame that in fact Han receives the signal much earlier than Luke does, and there's in that frame those two events are not simultaneous, whereas in Leia's frame those two events are simultaneous.